Welcome back to the Evolv Podcast. I'm Rhiannon.
And I'm your better host, Brendan.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But for now, pretty much what this podcast is all about is self-development, health and fitness, and our journey starting as brand new business owners.
Let's go. Make sure that you share this around because I'm telling you right now, this is the best podcast you've ever seen.
Enjoy, guys. Ciao.
This is a bit of a different podcast for us, but it's at the same time.
Sorry, was I meant to record my voice then?
No.
No, okay, fine.
Okay.
I'll shut up.
Do you want to test?
No, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, that can be the intro.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Done. Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Let's go.
So this is a different type of podcast.
Yes.
We've got Mikel Lindsaar on the podcast. Now, he's not only a very busy entrepreneur himself, he's also one of my clients, which is a great experience for everyone else watching.
Everyone else, not Rhiannon, because he's going to hear how good or bad his trading is.
I'm going to hear it raw and live, baby. Raw and live. Mikel, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Mikel Lindsaar. I guess you call a serial entrepreneur. In the last 14, 15 years, I've started 7 companies. I've sold 4 of them. I've still got 3. And we employ staff in, 8 or 9 countries around the world. All my companies are remote. I've got about 60, 70 people working for me. I'm not quite sure.
Yep.
Somewhere around there. Written a couple of books. I've done 10 years of volunteering before that. I soon found out you don't earn much money volunteering. So I had to get a job, look after my dad and family.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm a father. I've got a beautiful kid. I've got an amazing wife. Live here in Sydney, and just trying to do the whole, how do you keep growing businesses and selling them at the same time as running companies and spending time with the daughter and everything else.
What does it take to become a serial entrepreneur?
99% insanity. And then another 50% persistence. And I know we've gone over 100% there.
Yep.
I think, look, to start a business, you fundamentally have to disagree with reality. So if you actually define sanity as agreeing on a common reality, like we're all sitting here and we're sitting in a room on a podcast, we all agree that. But if I look over there and go, oh my God, that's an amazing elephant, and you guys both look and go, there's no elephant there. And there isn't, just for the benefit of the podcast. But if I insist there's an elephant there, you guys are going to start going, is he all right? Right? So that's insanity, right?
Yeah.
Similarly with a business. When you're starting a business, you're going, look at this amazing business. And that's in your head. You know, you might not have the follower count. You might not have the company. You might not have the income. You're the only one that's got that viewpoint and reality of what it is that you want to create. And it's totally up to you to bring that into the universe. And it's very empowering, but it's also terrifying and hard work. You have to have an unshakable belief that what you're creating will succeed, despite all indications to the contrary. Like, no one's going to agree with you, except maybe your mum. But even then, right, she'll be like, you're working too hard, or, whatever, right? Look after your health.
Take a rest.
But the truth is that you have to just keep pushing to create what it is you're creating. And, it's very similar, I guess, in personal training and stuff, getting through those barriers and the stops and the reasons why you can't do it. That's what it takes. And you just have to keep going, I think 7 businesses in 14 years is probably a bit much. It's a bit stupid because I haven't really been able to focus on any one.
Yeah.
But having said that, I'm now in a position where I've figured out how to do it. I'm very much focusing on a main one right now. It is exploding. And then I can take the next one and really focus on that one. So, yeah, I don't know what it takes except a lot of persistence and never saying quit.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes ever is, failure is only the excuse we give ourselves in order to give up.
Wow. I like that one.
Isn't that ridiculous? It's not from me, it's from a guy called Hubbard. But failure is just the reason we say that we didn't want to keep going. And when you take that as a viewpoint, it gets pretty, like, things get pretty brutal in your life. You can't.
It hits differently.
It does hit differently. It's like, well, I failed. Well, did you? Or did you just stop trying? You know?
When you question it like that, you really think about it.
Yeah. And you know, this is the thing. I've been in situations in my business where, you know, I've been in the shower in the fetal position just going, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Right? So if I can't podcast swear,
No, you can't.
beep that out.
It's okay.
But, you know, like, what am I doing here? How did I get into this position? And the next thought has to be, okay, well, what can I do about it? What's the next thing I can do? And if you keep persisting along a given path, you will achieve a goal. It might be in a year, it might be in 5 years, it might be in 20 years. But if you don't give up, you'll get there.
Yeah.
Now, that insanity that you speak about, is it knowledge driven as well? Like, is there knowledge behind it, or is it just the insanity part?
That's pure insanity, man. No, there is a lot of knowledge. I do huge amounts of reading, huge amounts of study, really trying to work out how people work, how they tick, how to communicate with people, all that sort of stuff. That's all a very important aspect of what I learn. And yeah, I like on managing companies, for example, my book True Team is all about that. So True Team is all about how to build a group of individuals going along in the same direction.
Yep.
And that's got a lot of distilled knowledge into it. So, but yeah, a lot of training.
What made you write that book?
Couple of things. One, I kept getting asked by people how to run a business.
Yep.
Because I'd done it.
Yeah.
And obviously sold a couple. And there's a lot of difference between building a successful company and selling a company for a profit. It takes a different skill set. But you have to build a company that can survive on its own in order to sell it. Because otherwise you're just buying a job or selling a job, right? Because then you have to work in it for forever.
Yeah.
So building a group of individuals, and True Team's actually an acronym.
What is it?
I knew you were going to ask me. Totally radical, unrelenting enterprise of truly enabled, aligned members.
Wow. Oh, I got to write that one down. That's a good one.
That's a tongue twister, that
I
one.
literally didn't hear anything you said, but that
Sounds awesome.
Sounds mad.
Yeah, so it's all about different points of what makes a true team. And like some of them, you have to have aligned goals. Everyone needs to know the position they play.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like taking the policy, how do you run, what are the rules of the game, what's your position on the playing field, what's the goal. And you think about it, if you were playing a game of, I know you love soccer, when you have a foot that works.
Sorry, football.
Yeah, football, sorry.
There we go.
Soccer.
The whole, if there wasn't a goal, like 22 people running around on a field for 2 hours, like, so what, right? But the goal's very real. You've got to get the ball in the other person's net while following about 423 million rules.
Yes.
And those rules create the freedom in the game that makes it exciting. Like if there were no rules and there was no goal and there was no position, there was no barriers, it wouldn't be a game.
Yeah.
You know,
Just be a bunch of people running around.
just be a bunch of people running around. And a game is defined by the freedoms you have, the barriers you have, right? And the purpose that you have. So if you have a high freedom to do what you need to do, you have high barriers and you have a high purpose, you can have an awesome game. Drop any one of those three and you don't have a game. And it's when you start looking at life from this sort of angle, it just becomes more bearable and it's more fun because you go, shit, this is really hard. You go, well, that's what makes it a game.
Right? If it was easy.
If it was easy, it wouldn't be a game. If you go play the worst ranked football team that you've ever played, I can't remember when I was at school, we used to play hockey and we were the best field hockey. We were the best by far in our league. And I remember one game, we won a hockey game 33-0.
Oh my God.
Right? A hockey game 33-0.
That's crazy.
After the first quarter, the goalie went, screw this, and took his pads off and just become another forward. Both of our fullbacks came up to the half line and we had like 9 people on the front line. And that's how we just played. You know, it would start, boom, the ball would be on the other end and but at the end of it, we all walked off and went, that was fun, but not really, you know.
Yeah.
The next week, we played a team that was a bit more capable and it was like, 2-1.
Yeah.
That was a much more fun game.
Yeah.
So over the years of being in teams, creating teams. You created an acronym for teams.
Yeah, myself and a friend of mine, Tony Melvin, who is a co-author of the book, definitely. And that really goes into how do you create a team. So everyone needs to know their positions, so you need a team chart. They need to know the rules, so you need policy. They need to be able to you have to keep score. So if you're not tracking weekly key metrics and key statistics of your company, are you really keeping score? Like, do you know how much better you are now than you were last year?
Yeah.
Or 3 months ago? Or is it worse? And then using those statistics, work out, well, what should we do next?
Yeah. What's going wrong?
Yeah. And it takes a lot of guesswork out of the company. Like Store Connect, we probably track about 60 different metrics on a weekly basis, maybe more, maybe
Wow.
70.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Every person in the company has a statistic for their post that measures their production. They report that. And that's across all 3 of my companies. So across all 3 companies, we'd probably track 200 plus metrics a week,
Oof.
every week. Yeah.
So just a bunch of Excel spreadsheets.
No, it's all in well, that's why I wrote Metapulse, which is an online software product
Yeah.
that tracks all those statistics and tracks the org chart. So I actually wrote the software product so I could run and build my businesses with it
No way.
because it didn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you made it for yourself.
Yeah. So I made Metapulse, which is the world's first growth management system. So, you have customer relationship management systems and you have content management systems and things like this. Well,
This was
Metapulse
for
is a
growth.
GMS, growth management system. It manages growth. We have a $1 billion company using it in the USA. They have 7,000 staff,
Wow.
all logged into it, all reporting
Wow.
their statistics on a weekly basis, some daily, like the sales teams.
Yep.
And they've built their business through it.
Wow. So it's just fully managing their growth, they're able to see all the statistics and kind of develop
And
a
drill
bit
down.
more- Yeah. A bit more of a plan.
Like their head of revenue can bring up the sales graph for the last week
Wow.
or 2 weeks, see that it's dipped on Thursday, right, compared to last week Thursday,
Yeah.
and click into it and see all the graphs that make that up and see that it's actually South America that's dipped, click into that, see that it's team number B that's dipped, click into that, find out that sales rep A is the one that isn't performing,
Yeah.
and go and fix it. Now, it might not be that sales rep A's done anything wrong. He calls up and finds out that sales rep A's phone just got cancelled by accounts up in North America, right? It's not sales rep A's fault. Good.
Yeah.
I can now fix that.
Yeah.
And that then reverts the graph. So it becomes really, really powerful when you start applying that sort of idea to a business. Any business can do it from any size. You don't have to be $1 billion company.
That's pretty crazy, though. So all these companies are out there creating Excel spreadsheets with all these new tabs and
Pain in
spicy
the
stuff.
arse. So on Metapulse, for example, you have like your team chart where you've got the CEO and you've got all the people and what they relate and whose jobs are what. And then you click on a person and it's got their job description, it's got their policies around what they do, and then all of their statistics and everything. So you can just go in and check it out. It's great for performance reviews because it takes all of the
guesswork out.
opinion and politics out of it.
Yeah.
Because business isn't about opinion and politics, despite what some companies think. Business is about, are you delivering a product of value to someone who's willing to exchange money with you in exchange?
Yeah.
Where did this passion start? Like, where did it all begin?
Jeez, I don't know. I mean, I did 10 years of volunteering. That was a big deal. I helped people get off drugs. I repaired marriages. I fixed people's, bad ethics behavior. I helped them with their life in general. And during that, I found that I had a passion my underlying purpose in life was to remove the stops and barriers that were preventing people from production. So that's what I love doing. I love going in and debugging and figuring out, what's the next thing, and be that either a software product or a tool or some advice or whatever. That's really where I dive in and where I go from there. So it's been decades in the making.
Yeah. It's just been an ongoing thing.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's a lot of fun.
So how'd you get into the volunteering?
Through my church, which is the Church of Scientology. So got into that. Little known fact, they have the largest volunteer force on earth,
Wow, okay.
like bigger than the Red Cross and the next one combined.
That's
just-
something I didn't know.
No,
Like
well-
Salvation Army and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's huge. So we did a lot of stuff through that. And yeah, that's how I got into volunteering, just really wanting to help people and look after them and make sure that they find a right path. And there was 10 years of that. And then I quickly realized you don't make a lot of money volunteering. So,
Well, you did a few different things though. Mm-hmm. So you were a marriage counselor. You helped people get off drugs.
yeah, most of what I did was around morals and ethics. So like advising people where they felt there was part of their life that they were not in control of.
Okay.
Like most people, this is a tenet from the religion, but people only do the wrong thing in order to solve a problem that they don't know how to solve. And you might think, really? But then you go, well, yeah, if you're going to steal a loaf of bread, why are you stealing a loaf of bread? You're hungry. Why are you hungry? I don't have any money. Why don't you have any money? I don't know. I don't know how to solve that.
Okay.
So stealing the loaf of bread becomes the solution to the problem, right?
Yeah.
So that's my area of expertise in this counseling is,
It's like peeling back all of their layers.
yeah, or peeling it back or just letting them come out with all of the things they did. So there's two reasons. You'll do something wrong as a solution to a problem. That's where it starts. But then you'll do that bad thing again and again and again and again and again to make yourself right for doing it last time,
Yes.
right? So like
So it's like a reinforcement.
it's like a reinforcement because the thing that a person hates the most is being wrong, right? The most wrong you can be is dead,
Yeah.
right? That's like the ultimate wrongness. So you want to be right. And this comes out in arguments with your wife. It comes out with bad business decisions. It comes out, there's a reason people gamble. They tried to make a bet. Maybe it was a game at the start, right? And then they failed. Well, I have to bet again because I can't be wrong. I'll hit it big next time,
Yeah.
So this whole sort of reinforcement
And goes into a bit of a spiral and then
just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and you're making yourself more and more and more right. And then the next bad thing above that, you stole a loaf of bread. Now it's a TV, and then it becomes a car. And then, now you're a criminal and you need to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
But that all started at some point back here. You didn't learn how to earn money or whatever it was. I'm being really simplistic. So I did a lot of help on that. And the marriage counseling aspect came into that as well, because the only reason you really have arguments with a loved one is you've done something that you don't want them to find out about.
Yeah.
And you want
That
to
makes
avoid
sense.
that in the conversation. Where were you last night? I was out with the guys. What were you doing with the guys? It doesn't really matter. But you're withholding
You're masking
what you
it.
actually did,
Yeah.
right? And that line of questioning will now start making you angry at that person. Why are you asking anyway?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Make you resentful and
Right. But if you could just not have that to begin with, you wouldn't have the argument. It's some brutal truths, this failure thing, this, any time you're critical or complaining against someone, you've probably done something to them that you don't want them to find out about, or you've done something yourself you don't want them to find out about. It's the complaint might be valid and might be real, but you're only complaining loudly because you've done something you don't want them to find out about. And it's a brutal truth,
Yeah.
but it's really powerful. And then all of that knowledge of seeing all of these relationships and how to build relationships has helped me directly in building business. I had a client once. It was really funny. I had a salesperson who was going, "Oh, this client's really pissed with us, but we need to get this sale in." And one of the things I learned was to match the tone of the other person. So if someone's really angry at you and you want to be as real as possible to them, be angry, right? Because they can hear that, right?
Yeah.
If they're in apathy, you can be in apathy. If they're in enthusiasm, you should be in enthusiasm. If someone's angry and you come in enthusiasm, they're going to punch you, right? Because it's just unreal. And if they're in anger and you're down here in apathy or sadness,
Yeah.
they'll probably punch you as well, because it's like, well, get your shit together, right?
Yeah.
So you match the tone level and then you go up a little bit to command them or to give them direction. So this guy was really angry and I got on the phone and my sales rep was sitting here. He'd just gotten off the phone holding the phone out here. I got on the phone and went, "Hi, it's Michael." And the guy goes, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." So I just turned around and go, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," not at him, at the stupid blah, blah, right? Whatever the blah, blah was that he was yelling about.
Yeah.
And instantly he starts responding to that, and we're both yelling about this thing.
Yeah.
And now we're mates, right? We're both going full on about this thing here.
Yeah.
And then that sort of settles, and then I go, so tell me about this situation. We need to get this invoice paid. What the hell, man? And he's like, yeah, I know, it really sucks, but look, I'll send it to you now. Thanks. Click. It was like a $40,000 sale.
Oh.
And my sales rep's going,
What?
What the hell did you just do?
You cracked the code.
Crack the code.
You created like a common goal together.
Yeah,
Isn't that cool?
you get that reality. Like life is really, I mean, I wasn't expecting to go down this philosophical path on the Evolv podcast, but here you go, coming to you. Life is really just understanding is what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to understand. I mean, we're doing this podcast. You're trying to understand me. I'm trying to understand you. Hopefully the listeners are not clicking off going, who the hell is this? Thanks to that guy that just stayed. That's really nice of you.
Appreciate it.
But understanding is made up of reality, common reality. So we all agree that we're in a room and we have a desk and we're on a podcast and our names and all that. Communication, which is the most important one, which is two-way flow of ideas.
Yeah.
From here across a distance to the other end, and then getting that duplicated at the other end is the thing that most people miss. So lol, ha, ha, ha is not communication.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just throwing out a comment to the ether. There's no duplication at the other end of that comm line, communication line. And then the other part is affinity. So how close and how much you like the individual. So in this space, the affinity is quite high. Like we're quite close to each other, right?
Yeah.
If we were trying to do this podcast across a football pitch, it'd be a lot harder.
Yes.
You'd be like, what? Right? You wouldn't be getting it, right?
Yeah.
So those three things together create that understanding. So you want to create, and this works. If you have an argument with your wife or your spouse and you really just don't want to talk to each other, figure out how to increase a little bit of affinity, a little bit of reality, or a little bit of communication.
Would that be like close proximity, face to face?
You could. It's always easier to work out an upset in person.
Yeah.
But, if I've really pissed off my amazing, incredible wife, the last thing she wants is to be right next to me for whatever reason, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Slap you in the face in that moment.
yeah, she's like, I don't want to be next to you right now. Give me some space or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So what I do then is instead of trying to attack that problem, I talk about some other aspect of common reality, right? So I might talk about our daughter or what we need to do with the house that we're both agreeing on, or something that we can create some reality about that might have nothing to do with the problem. And you start communicating on that reality, and you can imagine it as 3 points of a triangle. You've got communication or affinity up here, communication, reality. So you increase the communication a bit, you increase the reality a bit, and you see that affinity is automatically going up because the space, the understanding is getting bigger.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? So you just have to find one point, and you can always do this.
Yeah.
In any business, communication, anything, you can find one point of affinity, reality, or communication to increase, and it will automatically increase the other two.
So I'm thinking of it as just finding a common goal that you have with that specific person and honing in on that common goal, and that's going to improve that affinity level.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't even have to be a common goal. You could both be talking about a common reality might be both of you think those curtains suck. They're nice curtains. But but you see what I mean?
No,
it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It just needs to be something that you both have reality on.
Yeah.
Right? And that then gives you more communication and more affinity and lets you get that action.
Did you think you'd be going down this
I
philosophical
had
path?
no
at all?
idea. Welcome to the Evolv Podcast. My name is Mikel Lindsaar. I'll be your host today.
I wanted to dive into what happened, I think it was the other week, where you were lying down, I was giving you a stretch, and you had this epiphany moment of coming on this podcast. What inspired you to want to come on here?
Oh, I figured you needed help. No. I mean, the training sucked, so we better help him out on the podcast. Don't worry, listeners. Yeah, boom, mic drop.
Respect.
Yeah, I'm dead on Thursday, I tell you. Rihanna's going to rock up and go, okay.
Puppies.
Let's go. No, I mean, I do a lot of podcasts, and I think I'd just come off one and you guys had called me about a question about something, and I thought, oh, well, no, yeah, if you want me to come on the podcast, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's more, again, the communication point, people are seeing a side of me they'd probably have no idea about.
Yeah.
So the more that you can communicate, when you communicate and go into action, you'll go into trouble. So you may as well go into action anyway. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Just go for it. And some people like it, some people hate it. That's fine. This is my reality and what I've learned through life. And yeah.
I feel like that's a true mindset of an entrepreneur, though. The action without thinking type of mode.
Yeah.
Not without thinking.
No,
but
I mean calculated action. Yeah, totally. I mean, I piss off accountants in my company, and my wife's an accountant. But like, she'll appreciate that I say this. But sometimes I'll say, "Oh, what's the cost on blah blah?" And I'll go, I think it's about 28,000 or something. Right? I'll just pick a number out of the air.
Yeah.
And the accountant person will go off and do the research for like 3 days and come back and go, you were like $300 off. How the hell do you do that? It's not okay. Because you just get to a point where you just know what's happening. You can just intuit it. Many times, and this is a quality of an entrepreneur, I think, take time out of your action is like a really powerful thing.
Take time out of your action.
Yeah. So you'll find if you scan through your life, those times where you went, I'm just going to do blah, and you didn't really think about it, you just sort of knew that that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Almost always they work out great, unless it's something stupid like jumping off a cliff. But even then, if as long as you had a parachute, it probably worked out okay, right? But the times where you've just gone, I'm just going to do it, and you don't let time come into it, you just do it, you're probably going to work out okay. And that is a trait of an entrepreneur. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then not giving up.
Not giving up in that process as well.
Well, you got to back yourself. Like if you've made a decision, back it. And that's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You can't be an entrepreneur if you want to please everyone. And, it's not that you can't be a nice person, but you have to have a level of disagreement on the status quo. So, yeah.
How did you
Run your
learn
own
that?
ship.
10 years volunteering helped.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no money at all, really. So my food and accommodation and clothing and everything, that was all handled. And it was just like hitting targets with limited resources and just doing that again and again and again. Some of the stories that I've got, I can't actually repeat, but they, adversity and overcoming stuff, you just learn it. And as you keep doing it, you just get better at it because you get used to no one agreeing with you.
You silenced me, bro.
You just get it done.
These type of conversations are not ones that we obviously have
Often on this podcast.
not often on the podcast, but like generally
Yeah.
as well, because not many people really talk about the raw avenue of an entrepreneur,
No, that's right.
and some
It's
do,
hard.
some don't. But to really put it out there is for regular people to understand, or normal people to understand, or non-entrepreneurs to understand. It's hard to really project.
Yeah, people think, the boss has all the free time and blah, blah. It's so far from the truth. My dad has a fantastic quote that he told me many, many years ago. He goes, and I'm sure he made this up, but I've never heard it anywhere else, so I'm going to give it to him. He goes, Michael, if you run your own business, you have the total and complete freedom to choose exactly which 80 hours a week you want to work. It's pretty damn close to the truth.
It is.
Right? Yeah. I mean, my days right now start at 3:30 or 4 a.m. My first meeting's usually around 4:30 with America. I then work through until about 7 or 8 when my daughter wakes up, make sure she's ready for school, get her off to school with my wife. I then work through the whole day. 2 days a week, I do 45 minutes with Rhiannon about 9 o'clock, 9:30. I work through, daughter gets home about 4, I spend an hour or two, and then I'll do some more work until about 9, and then I'm in bed, and that's 6 days a week.
On repeat.
On repeat.
That's a crazy schedule.
It is, yeah.
How do you manage all your time
You make time.
to manage it?
Yeah. So people think that they don't have a lot of time. You would be blown away on how much you can actually get done in an 8-hour day if you don't dick around. If you're creating
doesn't
content,
sound like 8 hours though.
yeah, I mean, I'm doing 10 or 12. But, if you create content instead of consume content, like every time you're consuming content, think to yourself, how can I create content? One, it's more satisfying. Two, you'll get a lot more production done, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And, I spend a lot of time, I'm working really hard, but, dad win. I asked my daughter a little while ago that I have these little cards which have questions that you can ask kids, and kids can ask their parents, like kid value questions that they can ask, and you get in a conversation. Anyway, one of the questions was, does dad spend too little time, enough time, or too much time with you? Right? And this is to a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And she goes, you spend just the right amount of time with me. And I'm like,
Yes. What a win.
what a win, right?
That's a big win.
And she goes, because I know that, and she said this, she goes, because I know that if I ever need you, you'll always come and do what I need. Right?
That's so cute.
No matter what's happening.
That's awesome.
And that's happened a few times. I've walked out of meetings because my daughter needs me.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I need to come back in 10 minutes. And I just leave. And, I mean, they can talk or whatever.
Yeah.
And we can reschedule the meeting. Got a 7-year-old that needs me. So
Being a busy entrepreneur, have you always had priorities in line? And what are those priorities?
I don't know.
To give you an example, like I always say, and it's probably been repeated on this podcast so many times,
The catchphrase.
but focusing on 5 main priorities, whether that be yourself, your faith, your business, your family, your friends,
Right.
and sort of delegating your time
Around that.
effectively around those pillars of your life, everything will obviously work out.
Totally.
Was there something that you always work towards pillar-wise?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know. Not from a conscious...
It doesn't happen with everyone. I understand that.
Yeah. I can see that would be useful. I think for me, like right now, I just sort of I just make time for things to happen, right? So like I've been doing this running or walking 5K every day.
Yeah.
And that takes, if you're walking it takes about an hour to walk 5K, at a 12-minute pace. It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Although after a session with Rhiannon a couple of weeks ago, I went out for a walk and
take
I
a
was
bit
so
longer,
proud.
doesn't it?
Oh my God, I did like a 19-minute, 30-kilometer. It's like, I'm gonna finish.
Crawling to the finish line.
Basically crawling, right? But the DOMs were on that day.
Oh my God. Was that the squat day?
Yeah, that was the squat day. That was rough. Anyway, so, but I schedule it in, and my number one priority, I guess, obviously anything my daughter needs or my wife needs, I just handle. That's always number one. The business comes a very, very close second. And if it's a frivolous, like if it's not a critical request from the family, then the business might trump that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Of course.
So we'll adjust.
That's
right?
what I meant. Like those 5 don't stay as a 5.
Yeah, like they'll vary and change. Yeah. But doing something like that 5K every day, that's been challenging. One day I was in Dallas airport, and that day, because I was flying from America to Australia, meant that the only time I had to do my 5 kilometers for that calendar day
I remember this.
was in the airport. So I just walked up and down Dallas airport for an hour to get my 5K
No way.
done. Yeah, totally.
Is it a big one?
It's a very big airport, but it was 2 laps. It was a lot of walking.
I remember he came back. He was like, I did my 5K. I was like, there's no way you did it. He's like, I did it in the airport. I was like, my man.
But, my wife once, a little while ago, because I'm like, it was 11 o'clock at night. I'd only gotten 4 hours sleep the night before, and I had like 1 kilometer left to do on my 5K. And I'm like, I have to go for my walk. She's like, why? But she didn't say it like that. She's like, well, couldn't you do something else? How about you do some rowing or something? I went, yeah, that's not the point. When you give yourself, back to that failure thing, when you give yourself a non-optional thing to do every day, it grounds you.
Yeah, they're non-negotiable.
Yeah, it just becomes a non-negotiable. I'm working on the next one now, which is a challenge. But anyway, getting that 5K every day, highly recommend it. I've managed to get my 5K run time. Like when I started learning how to jog 5K, because I'm obviously the peak of physical fitness here. Right? People would say to me, Michael, get in shape. And I went, what do you mean, round in shape?
You get in shape.
Rounds of shape. What's your problem? I can roll faster than you can run. But when I started my jogging, I couldn't do 30 seconds without doubling over in pain.
Yeah.
Like I was 30 kilos heavier, all sorts of things. And just focusing on that and getting it done, I'm down now to a 36, 45K, just pretty good for me. And I'm still 20 something kilos overweight. So, as that weight starts to come off, which is the next target, get down to that sort of, good healthy range,
Yep.
my 5K will just increase because like the force that I'm putting through my knees right now, carrying an extra 20 kilo rucksack, it's just intense.
Where was the inflection point for you to decide to start kicking up your health and fitness journey?
Having a kid.
Having a kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I didn't want to be running out of breath before she did. And then yesterday I was picking her up from school and she started chasing me. So I just ran around until she ran out of steam. It was great.
Oh, so you beat her?
Oh, yeah, totally.
No way.
Yeah, I just kept jogging. Like, I can jog for an hour now, right? So,
There we go. Yeah.
it's like, 40 minutes. Although, actually, I did a slow 5K. I did 6K in an hour. So, it's really funny with running, though. Running's like, I had no idea that this was true in that it never gets easier, you just get faster.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can do an easy 5K run in 45 minutes. It's still going to hurt. Like, you still have that mental barrier of, okay, I'm in the last K now.
Yeah.
Or you can go all out and it will just hurt a bit more.
Yeah.
But it's not like it doesn't. It's not like you suddenly get to this state of, I'm just going to run a 5K.
It doesn't ever get easy.
Right. And that,
Even for a marathon
Always
runner, I
confused
feel
me.
the exact same.
yeah, right? You look at these top marathon runners and you go, oh, well, they're a marathon runner. Of course they can do that. And it's like, oh, yeah, but there's grit. There's the mental toughness. Not giving up. You can't fail running a 5K. You just stop running the 5K.
Do you see similarities in what you're doing with your journey right now in health and fitness with running a business?
Yeah, definitely. That there's non-negotiables in business too, right? When that proposal comes in, you have to answer it, and you got to get it done. And the hardest thing in business, I find, is you just don't know.
Yeah. The inevitable.
Yeah, well, you just don't know what the answer is. Client says, "I want blah," and you go, "Well, I don't know how much I'm going to charge for that. I'll pick a number out of the air. Hopefully, that's fine."
Yeah.
It's that never really goes away. I think you just have to. Again, it's gut instinct and.
This episode is brought to you by DynamicRecov. You're not lazy, you're just busy. But let me ask you this. How much longer are you going to let your health take a backseat to your calendar? You already know what to do. Train, eat well, stay consistent, but knowing isn't the problem. Doing it while running a business, managing a team, or raising a family, that's where most people fall flat. At DynamicRecov, we coach high-performing professionals to take back control without adding more to your plate. We give you a clear plan, real accountability, and full access to our coaching team right from your phone. Use code Evolv at checkout to get 50% off your first week. That's EVOLV. Hit the link in the show notes. Start now before later turns into never. Now let's get back to the episode.
One of the things about running a business, though, is people tend to undercharge. Don't get any ideas on their services. People tend to undercharge their service. That's a very common thing. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just non-negotiables. There should be things that you need to do, and if you keep doing them consistently, it'll come off. I don't know what it is about this universe and the world we live in, but it rewards persistence like nothing else, I think.
Yeah.
That 1% improvement every couple of days suddenly is massive.
Yeah.
And now you're an overnight success and everyone's like, and you go, well,
How'd you do it?
20 years of hard work.
I've heard a few successful entrepreneurs actually say that a lot of people or new entrepreneurs don't charge enough for what they do. How would you explain that to someone?
When you're starting out, you just want to get a job, get anything. And I don't actually think it's a bad thing, undercharging when you're starting, because it takes some of the pressure off you to deliver at that high level. And there are lots of things you need to learn the ropes on. And it's better to make mistakes at a lower value than a higher value, you know? So I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's very true that as you start growing your business and as your available time restricts, the only lever you have at that point is add more value and increase cost or increase charge, charge more money, because you only have 40 or 80 hours a week to deliver production in. So there's two ways you can do that. Either you bill more per hour or you start building an organization that's doing it while you're not there.
Yes.
And that's actually the way to make a lot of money. This is probably the most underspoken thing. Pricing, all of that, it's all important. But the most important thing you can do as a business owner is build an organization that works. If you know how to build a company, and by company I mean a group of individuals all working towards a common purpose, and you know how to build that as an organization, you'll make way more money than the best solopreneur in the world, no matter what. And you'll be able to take a holiday.
Yeah.
Right? Because the company keeps going while you're not there, right? So that's really, I think, if anyone was trying to work out how to really grow a business, get True Team, get any number of business books, but you want ones about how to build an organization, a team, because it's the team that will create the business. And you can sell a team. You can't sell your knowledge as a solopreneur.
Yes.
Right? So it doesn't matter if this company that you guys are running stays you two forever, there's the possible exit you might have is being able to sell your book of clients or something, right? But that won't get you the same sort of income as if you had a 10, 20, 30 person team running, right? And then you sell the business.
Yeah. Like a sales team, a finance team.
Yeah, like whatever's needed. You might not need many people in sales. You might not need many people in finance. You could probably get a computer to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
But there'll be an aspect that you can actually sell, and then the brand's worth something because it has an organization behind it.
There's a system behind everything that happens.
McDonald's don't sell hamburgers. I mean, they do, obviously, but
it's real estate.
That's not, it's real estate and it's their distribution channel. Like Coca-Cola is a distribution company. Coca-Cola owns more trucks than the largest delivery organization in the world outside of UPS, I think.
Well, I didn't know that.
Like it's some bizarre, either owns or 100% contracts. Like in Australia, I think Linfox do the actual deliveries, but they're all Coke trucks, right?
Wow.
So they've got
Okay.
Coke sides and everything. There's more distribution points of Coca-Cola in Victoria or some. I remember talking to someone in Coca-Cola about this, but there's more points where you can buy Coca-Cola in Victoria than there are public bathrooms. It's like
Actually,
what the hell? Some ridiculous
That's a crazy
datum, right? But you think about it,
Yeah.
Coke machines are everywhere and they're in every store. And like that's a distribution problem. Coke could stop making Coke and still make a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? And they do because
Just
they're
based
like
on other
Powerade and everything else. I don't know if Powerade's Pepsi or, but you know what I mean? Gatorade.
Yeah.
All of these other things that they sell. So yeah, you know, it's the system that's worth money. It's not the bright idea. And you can take a boring idea and put an amazing system behind it and make way more money than the world's best idea with a crap system.
There you go.
Mic drop moment.
But it's true, you know, people come to me and go, oh, I've got this business idea. And I go, tell me. And they go, oh, I don't know if I want to tell you. I said, well, then it's worthless. They're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is an amazing idea. And I went, yeah, okay. The idea is worth like maybe 10 cents. The execution might be worth 10 billion.
Yeah.
Do you find that a lot of people are closed off about their entrepreneurial journey?
Yep.
Why do you think that is?
The insanity of it, I think. Like at a subconscious level, I think they know that when you're going an entrepreneurial journey, you're having to put yourself out there in a way that if you fail, it's public, man. You know?
True.
That's crazy. I like with, you know, I'm running a business. I've got a whole bunch of people that have house loans getting paid from the money they get from my company.
There we go.
You think about this, right? I've got like 20 people that have mortgaged X million dollars worth of house because they work for me. They can get that loan, and that creates. Now, if that company disappears, maybe they don't get another job. You know, that's on my shoulders. Of course, then when I go to the bank, they go, "You're far too risky to get a loan." I'm like, "What the hell, man? I'm literally paying for 20. What's one more?"
I can do it for these people. Why can't I do it for myself?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Anyway, fun times.
I wanted to dive into a little bit about the personal training side of things with you. And why you got a personal trainer myself to begin with.
I was joking with Rhiannon before the podcast that this is the first time he'll get feedback in front of all of his listeners. He's like, "Yeah, don't worry. It's an exclusive listener list.
269
We're locking it
followers.
down. 269, that's it. No more." Why did I start personal training? I think I sit at a desk an awful lot. I just started learning how to run. I just lost about 10, 20 kilos of weight. And I knew that, like, there's a couple of, like, things like grip strength are a direct correlator on all forms of mortality. You know, datums like this are really powerful. And you go, well, why is that? You know, what is it about being able to squeeze or have a tight grip that means you're less likely to die of cancer? But this is they're a correlation. It's not necessarily causation, but it's a correlation, right? Yeah. And I think it's because being in a situation where you're doing the things needed to achieve that means that other parts of your life are also doing certain things, like you're less likely to fall over, all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm getting on in life. I'm not a spring 30-year-old anymore. And I just saw that if I didn't really start paying attention to the body, not coddling to it, but like kicking it into action is right. I think the right viewpoint on a body. Just
like that spark you needed.
Yeah, it's like, look, the body really needs a couple of near-death experiences a day to be truly alive. If you can push it right to the limit as many times as you can, it'll be a healthier body. So I want to live a long time. So that's what the spark was. And I just knew that I had been to a gym a couple of times, and the problem with the gym is it's very easy to not go. But Rhiannon comes to the door. Yeah, he's there, right? And that's a very powerful aspect of the personal trainer versus not, you know. And then also I can and do ask to be pushed in certain directions, you know, whereas at a gym I might be worried or, you know, am I pushing too hard or too little? And sometimes Rhiannon will say no, you know, not often, to be fair. But, you know, there are, you know, he'll notice that I'm fatiguing in one area and he'll change it to a different set of muscles or a different group, whereas in a gym by myself or even in a group training session, that might not happen. So there's more chance of injury and things like this. So that's why a personal trainer. Why getting fit? Well, I just needed to, you know. I lived a life of luxury and indulgence for far too long.
You lost a lot of weight as well. You went through a very big weight loss journey. Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
I mean, I was well above 133 kilos, which is like ridiculous for my size because I'm not a big person vertically. I was quite big horizontally. But yeah, I just stopped eating. That was the handling.
That was it.
I was just fasting. Yeah. So my longest fast was 14 days.
Yep.
Water,
14 days?
Water only. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
How much
What
weight
made you
did
do that?
What made me do that and how much?
Yeah.
The double question.
Double question. So the maximum you can lose per day if you're not heavily exercising is roughly, for my body size and that weight level, it was like 2,800 calories a day just to stay alive. Like that's your maintenance calories level that you need at that body weight, right? So there's about 7,500 calories in a kilo of fat. So every couple of days, 2.5 days, the maximum fat you can lose if you're not also exercising is about a kilo on a water fast. Now, how much weight I actually lost was way higher than that because all of the excess water left my body. You know, I probably lost like over those 2 weeks close to 10 kilos in total or 8 kilos in total. And then I put on probably another 3 or 4. But over the 2 weeks, I lost 4.5 kilos of fat. Like that was actually measured, stayed off after that. Didn't come back. Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, that was well worth it because it did a couple of things. It proved to me it was possible because I didn't really believe it. I thought you could only last a couple of days without food. And, you know, then I found out that's not actually true. I came off the fast because I started feeling dizzy one day and I went, okay, that's the signal. Let's just reintroduce some food and get back onto it.
Yeah.
And then once I'd done that, I then did a whole bunch of like 72-hour fasts.
Fast as well, yeah.
And that just kept pushing it down. And then in between the fasts, I tried to just focus on whole foods and avoid the sugar.
Now you're doing 3-minute 40 planks, going for a pull-up.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're working towards some good goals.
I used to be able to do a lot of pull-ups and I can't do any now because it's very heavy, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next thing I'm working on is getting rid of the sugar. So I've got a new rule because sugar's so addictive. It's ridiculous.
It is.
So my new rule is don't eat sugar alone.
I like
And that's actually working.
Yeah.
Because like the sugar that kills you is not the birthday cake you have at the birthday party. It's the ice cream you have when you're stopped at the service station.
Yeah.
Or the chocolate bar you buy or whatever.
It's that habit.
It's the habit of it. Yeah. So I introduced that a little while ago. Don't eat sugar alone.
Yeah.
And that's working actually quite well so far.
Yeah.
It's a really simple thing to keep too. It's like, I want sugar. Am I alone? Yes. Well, you can't have it. Like, but if you're at a party, I want sugar. Are you alone? No. Oh, okay. I'll have that profiterole. It's quite
It
nice.
sounds like your life, you're putting all these systems and rules in place in every little aspect. Have you always been like that?
No, that was a learned thing through my church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that part of the religion?
Yeah. So, I mean, the religion, it's not a faith-based religion like Christianity is. It's a philosophy of life. So it's a very practical, you do A, B, C, D, you'll get output E.
Okay.
And like that affinity reality communication thing, that's one of the fundamental tenets of Scientology.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you actually look at the Scientology symbol, it's an S with 2 triangles. The bottom triangle is ARC, affinity reality communication. The top one is knowledge, responsibility, and control, which is another triangle. So if you want to increase your knowledge of anything or your control of anything or your responsibility of anything, just increase one of the other 2 and you will.
Wow, okay. So it's
if you
very
wanna-
practical in a way.
Insanely practical. Like if you want to be better at driving a car, what do? You go learn how to drive a car. So you get some knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But if you get all the knowledge in the world and you can control a car, but you have no responsibility, so you're speeding, you're doing all the hooligan things, you're going to crash the car.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much knowledge and control you have. If you don't have any responsibility, you're going to die,
Yeah.
right? So you have to increase all 3 at the same time. And as long as you do, you can get better and better and better at anything you do. Same with that affinity, reality, and communication. You just keep increasing one of those 3 at any time, and you get more understanding. And KRC and ARC, that's really, I guess, the 2 tenets on how I run my life. If I'm ever hitting something that I don't understand or isn't working or is frustrating me, I find out on the KRC what I can increase about it.
And do you look at both triangles?
Yeah, so
moment?
ARC is more, the ARC triangle is more about interpersonal communication and understanding things.
Yeah.
So if I don't understand something,
You look at the ARC triangle.
yeah, I look at the ARC. Like if the car's not working, right, I don't understand it. Well, what can you do about that? Well, you can get some affinity with it. Pop the hood, have a look, pull out the dipstick, get some, communicate with it, find the common reality. What's the problem here? And get to understand it and fix it.
Why aren't you working?
Why aren't you working? Yeah, I mean, that has worked for some people, I'm sure, at some point. Work, damn it! Whoa.
Hit it a few times.
That's right. Hit it a few times, get into real communication with that car. But also, on the KRC triangle, you can go and get some knowledge. You can open up the book. You can read the manual. You can do something
mechanic.
about it. You can get out and push the bloody thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's control.
Yeah.
So, there's these aspects I use constantly in my business and life. And if there's ever something that is frustrating me, I get very interested in it. That's probably the number one skill you can have, I think, in life is interest. And I don't mean being interesting, which is like the influencer look at me. I mean being interested. So you'll be amazed how this works. You have a problem and it's frustrating you. Go, wow, that's a really interesting problem.
Say that instead of being frustrated at it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, that problem. What is it about that I don't understand? And then you'll start, like it will start unraveling a bit.
Yeah, start dissecting it like a frog.
Yeah. And suddenly the solution pops up. It's really powerful and it works all the time.
It sounds like you've got a lot of knowledge. Philosophy knowledge on this stuff. But in saying that, like, are there habits that you've continued every single day that get you sort of motivated for the next day and the next day and the next day? And what are those habits?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have some very large goals, and that's probably what runs me day to day. Like, my goal is to make a meaningful impact on society globally, right? So to achieve that, I'm going to need a lot of money. And that's the path that I'm building my businesses towards. So that gets me up every morning. The family gets me up. I guess the habits. One of the good things I do tend to do from just a business point of view is at the end of the day, take a look and review what I need to do the next day and get anything out of my head so that I'm not thinking about it when I go to bed.
To kind of burning the files in a way.
Yeah. Because if you write a little battle plan on what you want to do the next day at the end of the day, it's not in your head while you're going to bed.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about it because you've already handled it.
Yeah.
It's in tomorrow now.
Just close that chapter.
Close the chapter, move on.
Brendan does that.
Yeah.
He burns the files every day.
Awesome.
Comes back to me the next day.
It's smoking.
What happened?
What happened yesterday? I'm not doing that
I'm back.
extreme, man. You got to knock off the PO or whatever it is you're taking. Who are you? Like, where am I?
Rhiannon? Is that
Rhiannon? But yeah, just writing down, I need to do blah and blah and blah and blah and blah. I need to find a solution on blah. And that all just sort of files it away, subconscious, whatever you want. And then the next day, dive into it. The other big habit I have is do what you're doing while you're doing it.
Do what you're doing while you do it.
Yeah. So
like locking in.
Yeah, like that's a very modern term for it. Yeah. Like I'm not here on the podcast on my phone.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm not here talking about the podcast, but thinking about the marketing problem that I've got.
Yes.
Or whatever. Right. Just be in the moment, be in present time.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And in the moment.
For that period.
Yeah.
Right. And then get out of that and do something else. Sure.
Yeah.
But just focus on what you're doing while you're doing it. Don't worry about the other stuff. You'll still have that in 10 minutes time. So why worry about it now? Just handle the next big thing. And then from a business point of view, I always focus on income. So there's another brutal truth that there is no financial problem that exists that can't be solved by making more money.
It's true.
Right? I mean, it's one of those stupid truisms, right?
Yeah.
And people go, of course that's true. I mean, that's so ridiculous. And then you look at them and they're trying to figure out how to save 15 cents on a blah, blah, and they spend 7 days trying to figure that out because they're trying to, it's like, well, why not just sell one more thing, right?
Just make a sale.
Just make a sale. I mean, you don't have to worry about that, And it's like, how do you guarantee to never be worried about being shortchanged when you're buying something? Make so much money that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, it's like you can solve a lot of problems in life by creating an affluence.
Yeah.
And if you have enough of an affluence of things, you can handle the downturns. And that's actually probably partly why I got into doing the personal training and doing the fitness, because the personal training and the fitness creates an affluence of stamina in the person, And I've done a couple of nights over the past couple of weeks. I had about 4 weeks ago, I think, Rhiannon came for training Monday morning and I'd just done, it was that night that I was going to be doing it. But I had 1 3-hour call from 12 until 3 a.m. Then I had a 1 hour break and then I had another 3-hour call from 4 until 7. And then I had a full day of meetings. It's like, It's a long day.
big.
Yeah.
22-hour day.
I'm gonna throw you a spinner of a question.
What, these weren't?
This is obviously being recorded.
Yeah. What?
So I
It's
want,
been recorded the whole time.
as your coach,
Yes.
and on this podcast,
I want
I want you to set a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month goal on the
Oh,
podcast right now.
Screw you.
As you say it to the camera, I'm gonna snippet it
God.
and I'm gonna send it right to you, and it's gonna stay in that folder until we hit that 3-month goals.
I mean, 3-month goal is pretty easy. I think get to doing like being able to just do pull-ups properly.
Yeah,
A few pull-ups would be good
yeah,
in a row. 6-month goal is probably more about having my weight loss under control.
yeah,
So that will probably about another, 10 kilos off or something. I think I could do that over the next 6 months. The 1-year goal, definitely under a 30-minute 5K.
yeah.
That's been there for a long time. Need to do that. And then post that, we'll be doing a sprint triathlon. So
Yeah.
they're the targets.
Good.
A sprint triathlon. Wow.
750, I think it's 750 meters swim, 5K run, 10K bike.
Yeah, it is.
Or in the other sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swim, bike, run, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
Swim,
whatever.
bike, run.
So I
think
can do
you
the
it
bike.
whichever direction you want.
Really?
I don't know. I
No, they do it in a sequence, surely. Everyone does it together, don't they?
Swim,
Swim, bike,
swim,
run.
bike,
is-
run. Yes,
yeah.
it is. Yeah.
So I can do the bike. That doesn't worry me. I can now run the 5K, but it's not fast enough for me.
Yeah.
And then
Swimming
swim is going to be
750.
that's going to be a challenge.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, I can do a
Open
couple
water
of
as well.
laps freestyle right now. I can probably do about 100K, 100 meters,
100K.
maybe 200 meters, 100K swim. Yeah, I just do that on Tuesdays. I don't know what you do on Tuesdays.
Somewhere around Australia, right?
Yeah, that's right.
For any busy entrepreneur that's kind of struggling at the moment, what's some motivation that you would give them to keep on going?
People greatly underestimate what they can do in 10 years and greatly overestimate what they can do in a year. And I think if you are feeling like your business isn't growing fast enough, or it's not working, or why isn't it growing fast enough, take a look at where you were a year ago or 2 years ago compared to now, and you'll be blown away. We had this in our company just recently. I was going, why can't we get more leads on a certain type of lead? And I was getting this bad vibes back from the sales team. It's getting really hard and blah, blah, blah. And I just sat down with them one day and I said, if you were a startup, how much money would you pay to be in the position that we're in right now? And it totally just reset their viewpoint on it. They're like, oh, yeah, good point. Like, we've got an amazing product. We've got incredible clients. Like, they all love us. It's an amazing position, but it's not where you want to be. So you discount it. So I think as an entrepreneur, don't be afraid of the grind. It will take time. It'll take years if you're going to build anything big. But just understand that you can just keep doing it a little bit better. And as long as you keep doing it a little bit better, you'll get there.
I want to dive back into the fact that you've built companies and sold them off. What does it take to build something great and then walk away from it?
I guess depends what it is you're building and why you're building it. The companies that I did build and sold, I built them to be sold.
Oh, so you went with that intention.
Yeah, totally.
From the start.
Yeah.
Did you have like a
And
timeline?
same with a couple of my companies right now. Like, I'm building them either to sell them or to go public, or, whatever the outcome is.
Okay.
But my company Store Connect, I am building that to get to a stage, right?
Yeah.
Now, either the company will get big enough that it will go public, or it will get bought out by a venture capital firm, or someone will acquire it. Like, there's many different outcomes, but it's not my,
It's not something you're going to
it's not my baby.
Yes.
Yeah. I have another company, the Metapulse one, like the team one. That's a lot more my baby. That's not going anywhere. I'll just keep building that. And I built that for me, and I share it with other businesses, right? I charge them for it, but, I share it with other businesses. So I think, if you're building a business that you want to be known for life, then don't have sale as an option. Like, you don't have to sell a company. You can just grow it into something massive, and it can just pay you for the rest of your life, and you can leave it to your kids. It can become a legacy.
Yeah.
You know, there is no fixed rule book on that, and you shouldn't feel like you're inadequate if you don't sell it or you don't build it to sell. But I think the fundamentals of building a successful business still hold true, in that you still need to make a company that has an organizational structure under it that can survive missing you,
Yes.
right? So
So you
if
can
you
go
can
on
build
that
that,
holiday.
yeah, go on a holiday or take a 1 year sabbatical, just like disappear, turn the phone off. I've done that a couple of times. I've turned the phone off for a few days. I haven't quite gotten to a year yet. But, you know, it's important to be able to disconnect. And if you can build your business up to the point where you can disconnect for a little bit, that's fantastic. You know, one of my clients is running a plumbing business with his mates, and they run a website where you can buy plumbing supplies, but they're building it so that they can spend time with their family, you know? So they might not necessarily be growing at the rate they could be growing, but they're growing at the rate which allows them to be the coach of the baseball team or the basketball team and be at the graduation and all of those things, which, you know, well, what are you living life for?
They're doing it for those things.
Yeah, as opposed to the bank balance. You know, and same with me. You know, I'm building it for a purpose, and sometimes that means I make questionable financial decisions along that line where I could profit a lot more in the short term, but it's not going to achieve my long-term goals. That's fine, as long as you're happy with it and you know what you're doing. But yeah, I think the number one thing is you just got to build that organization, build a team. Get the book, True Team, at a stockist near you. But yeah, I've never spoken about my book so much in a podcast before in my life. But that whole idea of create a team that can run your business. You know, an organization is made up of individuals with a common purpose, following a set of policies to achieve a goal that's measured.
Yeah.
What was the time you had to pick up your daughter?
Soon.
Yeah.
You have to leave soon.
Okay. Cool.
No worries. You'll cut that out, or
Yeah,
we'll leave it in the
no,
podcast?
I'll cut it out. I'll cut it
Like
out.
5 minutes.
And what does it mean because you mentioned before that you're aiming for global impact.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
I want to make the world a better place. So I've got much larger conversation than the last 3 minutes of a podcast, but I definitely have goals and purposes around that is driving me to create some massive businesses.
Yeah.
And, you know, that if you look at the scale of motivation, right at the top, you've got duty. Right at the bottom is money. Maybe below that would be fear. You know, do this or I'll kill you is a lower form of motivation than do this and I'll pay you some money, which is lower than do this and you might get something out of it, which is lower than do this because it's the right thing to do. And the highest is do this because you truly believe it's what's needed and wanted, right? That's the highest level of motivation, duty.
Entrepreneurship.
Duty, personal conviction, personal gain, money, fear. So my purposes are up in duty. I know what it is I need to achieve in this life and I need to do it. And that is what gives me my motivation to get up every morning.
Yes.
Because if it was money,
You wouldn't keep on doing it.
it just doesn't interest me that much.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause you know
money's
how to
nice
make
to
money.
have and I've got enough of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, the daughter goes to school. We're never really wanting anything. If we want something, we can figure out how to get it.
Yeah.
I've got an okay car. It's not like I've got a brand new Ferrari, blah, blah, but who cares? People drive those because of other people, not for them.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's
You
not
never
something
drive
you
a
want-
Ferrari for yourself because you can't see it.
Yeah.
You're inside the Ferrari. They're a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but, you know, that's not my...
It's not your purpose.
It's not the purpose, you know. Money's never the purpose. And you look at the top entrepreneurs, it's not purpose. Like you look at the people that own the biggest companies that are entrepreneurs, like Bezos, Musk, even to, you know, different degrees. Anyway, there's a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
They all have an underlying purpose that's not be rich.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Otherwise, they wouldn't have
They wouldn't do
stopped
it.
a long
There's
time
no
ago.
way you could do it.
Yeah.
They did
Why
it for
would
the
you fire
passion.
rockets into space?
Exactly. Yeah.
They did it for the passion.
Yeah, that's right.
Michael, where is it that people can find you, find your book, and learn about you and yourself?
Lindsaar.net is my website, lindsar.net. I'm on LinkedIn. Hit me up. Mikel Lindsaar on that. And my company is called Store Connect and Metapulse are the two businesses that I spoke about. So getstoreconnect.com and metapulse.com. And yeah, I guess that's Customer Commerce Podcast on all the sort of podcast episodes. You hear me ramble about all sorts of things on that. And yeah, link me up, contact me.
I'll put all the links in there. In
Awesome.
The description. Appreciate you coming
Thank
in,
you.
man.
Thanks,
you so
Rhiannon.
much.
Cheers.
And don't hurt me on Thursday.
I'll try.
Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the Evolv Podcast.
Brendan and I have loved having you throughout this whole podcast. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And if friends are interested, share it around.
Yeah, make sure you share and tag us on your Instagram posts, and I'll see you soon.
See you guys. Little boogie to finish.